is Bart Sharp on Becoming Quantum Conscious at United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3, broadcasting out of the beautiful city of New Orleans, Louisiana, also on Roku, X, Facebook, YouTube, and the UPRN radio or UPRN Talk Radio website. We're all of those places and more all over the world. And I'm all over the world because I was flying yesterday over the big pond, and now I am in lovely France, in Quillon, France, which is my home away from home, and in the beautiful Pyrenees. Lots of ETs, lots of sacred sites. This is where Mary Magdalene went, and Mother Mary appearances, and of course legends that Jesus lived here, and that'll get you in all kinds of arguments wherever you go. What a touchy subject Jesus is, or Yeshua as I call him. But regardless, it's a lovely place, and I've already seen a flying saucer in the sky. Just typical for the norm. You just kind of see them like this little speck of silver and then your eyes adjust. Like you look up and you see it, and your eyes kind of get specific with it, and it's gone. But when I muscle test, it always says, yes, you saw a flying saucer. So that's why I grade it by as that. And I'll have more adventures in France, more consciousness in France, because it's amazing when you get into a place of higher consciousness, it always changes you. It always changes the vibration. France is very organic. However, my other location in Austin, Texas is not so organic, but it is a higher vibrational place, mainly because of the people. People are one of our greatest resources of consciousness. Don't let those people fool you that they're mundane and kind of uninteresting. They are very interesting, and I hope more you interesting people are listening today, as we got a really great show today with Kymberly Kind with the topic Resolving Lost Souls in the Spirit Realm. Doesn't that sound juicy? Resolving lost souls in the spirit realm. And with that said, I am going to bring on Kymberly. Hey, Kymberly.
Hi, thank you for having me today, Bart.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Kymberly is also grew up, her formative years were in Paris in France, so we may be speaking a little bit of French. I don't know. It's okay to let it slip out. But resolving lost souls in the spirit world. It just sounds like, well, to me, it's a great topic. And it's one of the many things that you do, because just a list of all of what you do, Kymberly Kind, and that's KYM, BERLY, and then KIND, DACM. She is a Shamanic Psychotherapist, a doctor of Eastern and Energetic Medicine, specializing in Ancestral Trauma. Also a facilitator in family constellation therapy and quantum cellular soul alignment therapy. Just amazing amount of work you've done. And just to read a little bit more about Kymberly, Kymberly Kind is a highly experienced and trained somatic trauma therapist, deeply committed to guiding and supporting individuals on their healing journeys. With over a decade of experience, Kymberly has worked extensively with clients facing a wide range of trauma, from childhood experiences to more recent life events. She understands that trauma can manifest in both mind and body, and her approach emphasizes the importance of reconnecting with oneself through somatic awareness and body-based healing. As a transpersonal, integrative, and intuitive spiritual healer, Kymberly blends traditional therapeutic techniques with spiritual practices to offer a holistic healing experience. Her international experience has allowed her to work with diverse populations and cultural backgrounds, deepening her understanding of how trauma affects people uniquely. Whether working with individuals or facing group sessions, Kymberly brings a compassionate and intuitive presence to every realm. Her mission is to provide safe, compassionate space where clients can heal, grow, and transform. And she utilizes evidence-based modalities such as somatic experiencing, breath work, guided visualization, and body-focused mindful practices. So that's a lot of great stuff there, Kymberly. And we're taking a aspect about this, of the work that you do, that I don't think many people contemplate. It's like people who are in limbo, or souls that are in limbo, that are also tied into the people that are living. Um, and to me, I find this fascinating. And welcome to the show, Kymberly.
Thank
I'm
you.
really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Bart.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, there is a part of our journey that has been kind of lost, if I must say, that has been kind of um, not not so much put to the light, I will say. But this used to be one of the primal work, was to connect the souls with the souls that are out of body and in body.
Mm-hmm.
And these can be seen in many different indigenous cultures. This can be seen also in very much different religion as well. Sometimes there used to be many practices and many way of living that helped the soul elevate and help the soul in body also separate from the soul that is out of body. So all these practices have been kind of lost with time, and because of the way that we're living, because of the new age practices, and just kind of going back to the roots. It's like we're ending the cycle, the infinite
Mm-hmm.
cycle, I call it. So everything goes back to source, everything goes back to the beginning. So it's the cycle that is part of death and birth, birth and death. So in that cycle, it involves all the souls that are here now, the souls that we see physically, the souls that we do not see, and it's part of the ancestors that have walked before us. So there's different theory that people might feel more comfortable using, as of past life memories. So
Mm-hmm.
if you enter the quantum field of like, this is me in a different lifetime, and this could also be more comfortable with someone saying that these are my ancestors, these are the people that have walked before me. So
Yeah.
depending on your beliefs and depending on how you see fits for you, this can be actually the same story. This is the same story. It's just, we found different ways of sharing history and stories more comfortable to our ears, more comfortable to our body, more comfortable to our soul to hear.
And
So,
also, well, just to add in, I think there's a group of people that are seeing that just knowing your stories isn't enough. Maybe counseling, or writing out your life story and doing that basics of work of knowing what happened to you in this lifetime, and then coming to, higher and higher resolutions of what that is, getting somatic with it, feeling what that is. But then you start to step into this, well, I'm still much bigger than that. And one of them seems to be my ancestors are living in part of me right now. And they are part of me knowing myself in a more complete way. Does that kind of uh,
Yes,
come with what you're saying?
totally. You nailed it. So part of the conscious and the unconscious, the subconscious. So in different beliefs and in the shamanic belief and many indigenous practices, we believe in the quantum awareness that your ancestors live in your subconscious. So the part of your body is your ancestors, and then your consciousness is yourself, which is your soul. So together, you guys merge to create what is you right now. So with
Wow.
all the knowledge and all the experiences, all the feelings, all the stories that have come before you. So within your genes, the separation doesn't exist. The separation doesn't allow. You know, we might want to bypass it and deny our roots, deny where we come from, but it always goes back. So there's always that pull in the quantum field that wants to bring us back to the roots, that wants to be heard, that wants to be seen, that wants to be understood through different ways of speaking to us. So that could be pain in the body, pain in the mind, pain in the soul. That could be through different stories that may happen through your life where if you really look at the stories and you write down your life as you just mentioned, you might see that your story is actually a similar story that may have happened in the past with your mom, with your dad, with your grandparents, and it's just unfolding or repeating cycles. So the life and death of cycles through the soul's movement. This is what we
Yes.
call it. So, to give you an example, Bart, may I?
Yes. Yes,
So,
please. You're
so
doing great.
when I was younger, well, when I was younger, not that long ago, let's say about 10 years ago, I had this really scary car accident that left me with a broken ankle. And when I went through that life changing situation, the doctor that I first saw at the hospital told me that I will be amputated and never walk again. And going through that was very obviously painful, tragic, and me not understanding exactly what was happening. Why would I need to get amputated, and why I couldn't have support, surgeries, help, and I had to fight my way out of this amputation until I got another doctor that came in and was like, hey, actually, you know what? I think we can have surgery and we can save your ankle. So my ankle was completely shattered. All the bones were completely shattered and broken. But he believed in me and said, do you believe in me? And I said, yes, I believe in you. So at that moment, I had the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other shoulder jump up in front of me, literally. So I had both doctors, one who wanted to amputate me and one who wanted to save me, basically, and have surgery in front of me, trying to convince me to go, either way.
So
And
can I ask a
yes,
little bit of clarification?
sure.
So the devil and the angel were a representation of your psyche, and the doctors were playing that role,
Hmm.
and they fit into that due to their own personalities and experiences and such. It
Yes.
just wasn't that they were playing it because you demanded it.
Yes, and also
Okay.
because subconsciously or also consciously, We have these stories and these patterns that keep repeating, as you said. And are you going to be loyal to the stories that happened previously? So are you going to be loyal to the past and repeat those cycles? Or are you going
Hmm.
to choose another way and change the patterns and change the cycles? So basically, after I did choose surgery. I didn't get amputated. It took me a long time to heal, actually. And I was a year in a wheelchair, 3 years to learn to walk again, but I made it. And I was so glad and happy to have made it. But through this journey, I connected to my ancestry line and I connected to the stories of the past. And this is where I discovered that there was a lost soul in my family that needed to be heard, that needed to be seen, and that needed to make peace. And that lost soul was my uncle from my mother's side. So he passed away when he was 3 years old from a leg injury. So he broke his leg. He was, yeah, 3 years old, didn't get the medical help that he needed. His leg was infected. There was a big infection, and he passed away at a very young age. And my grandmother never grieved his loss. She never
Mm.
made peace with his loss. My mother as well. So he was my mother's older brother, and she
So,
came after him.
so he was kind of hidden away and never recognized in a ritual or anything to just recognize that he can pass along, and the parents or grandmother in this case could really let it go. So
Hmm.
he was literally carried emotionally.
Yes. I never, and I never really knew about it. I mean, I remember maybe one time when I was younger when my grandmother mentioned him very briefly, and I didn't feel any emotions when she told that story, and she was, very pulled with the grief and the anger, the grief that
Hmm.
became anger. And what I realized through the healing practices and the modalities that I was actually learning at the time, which was family constellation and somatic work, and trying to heal my body and finding my body, because basically I lost every part of me during that surgery and that time. I was broken. My soul was broken. My body was broken. So I needed to realign to my truth.
Wow.
And I figured out that I was reliving his experience. So, same exact leg injury, same exact way of like feeling, you know, not wanted, lost. And at that time, my family actually disconnected from me. So they couldn't handle the pain and the grief to see me in that position. It was like reliving for them the tragedy that had happened before, but they were unable to put words into it. So most of the time I was just left alone in the hospital. So through what happened is that my uncle wasn't properly grieved, so my grandmother never had the chance, or for loyalty to her son, she didn't allow herself to love another soul. So, not to love her daughter, not to love her granddaughter, or any man in her life. So, when a mother loses a child, loses a close family member, and that person is never grieved, it creates a block in the heart chakra. So when that block is created out of loyalty now for your mother, now you also don't allow yourself to love too. And this is what we call, cycle, the generational trauma cycle that happens out of loyalty. We cannot love or receive love from another soul until that soul is actually let go.
Mm. Mm.
So in the practices, sorry, Bart, go ahead.
Well, it really brings up, did your uncle or your mother's grandmother's son, was he lost as well, do you think?
Yes. So what it creates is that everything is energy, everything is conscious, and a lot of these souls that don't pass through and doesn't make it into what we call source, back to source, it
Mm-hmm.
creates kind of like a stagnancy, a heaviness above
Uh-huh.
that then all the generations after can feel, and other people, because everything is energy. So we may feel also the burdens of other people that are not in our family or not in our bloodline, but we'll still feel that heaviness from it. We might still be entangled with it. And this is how we say that we're all one. How are we all one? Because our personal story is connected to the conscious, the collective conscious, and the collective understanding and healing. So that's going back to the doctor, the first doctor that wanted to amputate me. So after a while, I actually had the chance to meet him again, and we had a talk, and I was really, um, you know, how do you say, I was really interested into like understanding his story and where he came from and what was, his beliefs and his understanding. And also, like, am I the first person that had to go through it, or what's going on with this person?
Mm-hmm.
So I find out that his mother wanted him to be a doctor, out of loyalty to all his family, all his brothers, his sisters, his father, and generations of doctors were in his family. And out of honor, he could not choose another path. And he
Mm.
was very, very sad because he could not practice something else that was calling for his passion, calling for his heart. So instead of, you know, doing what he loved to do, he agreed, his soul agreed out of loyalty to carry on that burden of being a doctor. But in exchange, now he's unhappy with what he's doing, so it's interfering with the collective's consciousness, because now he's harming others and he's not trying to find solution for them to help them heal, because he's himself not loved for who he is, and his soul is blocked from the path that he's supposed to follow.
Wow. Sadness is such a powerful thing to block you. And, it carries for generations from what you tell me. I mean, like your grandmother was horribly sad. Uh, and when you do this work to cure your own ankle, you're really connecting to your grandmother's son and helping his transition. Do I get that understanding right?
Yes, so here's the beauty of healing also. The beauty of healing is that it doesn't matter if your ancestors or your mother, your grandmother, your siblings are choosing the path of healing, but as long as you do it, and as long as you choose that path of transmuting this negative energies and helping the souls elevate, they just need to have one person recognize them and honor them and help them and send them love to be able to transition into the other part, the other realms, the source, back to source, so that cycle doesn't keep repeating. Because as long as it stays in our energy field, in our quantum field where we are, that cycle will keep repeating until it is resolved.
Mm.
So energy never dies. Energy always stays until it is resolved. So we have to find a way to resolve it. So in my healing, um, even if my mother or my grandmother chose not to go into that space, I am still doing the healing and I'm still helping that soul elevate.
Yeah. just another question. How, when you're sitting with this broken, shattered ankle and you're starting to do this spiritual work, what got you to just, did you start studying family lineages, or did you go as a shaman into these worlds to go back, or what? How did you start with finding these answers?
So the funny thing, or should I say, the paradoxical thing is that I come from a lineage of healers, a lineage of shaman. And in that lineage, my mother and my grandmother actually rejected it and did not want to be part of it, and rejected the gift and rejected the knowledge and the practices. So they stopped practicing all these modalities, these rituals that we've have always practiced. So when I was a little girl at 11 years old, I started being initiated into shamanic healing and helping the souls elevate in North Africa, Algeria. So how we are taught to do it is we circle around, we have a connection with community, we sing, we chant, we dance, we send love. There's various guides that comes in, the elders, and give the motivation for that soul to elevate and not be fearful. So, depending on the tragic way that that soul has passed, so that when that has gone out of body, it could be a very peaceful death out of body, but it could also be a very traumatic incident that may have happened, which created confusion for that soul, which created confusion. And also, depending on the age, so if it's a baby, this happens also with women that have miscarriages, that have abortions, or that have stillborn babies, which we call, the baby souls that are sometimes lost, fearing and not understanding where to go or how to do it. So the way that we carry these rituals helps elevate the soul through chant, dancing, and talking to them, lighting candles for them as uh, as a representation of the light for them to see. So all these things are connected to traditional practices that we used to do and we used to have. When we grieve, when we lose someone, we're supposed to stay 40 days in mourning, not cleaning, not working, not cooking, because the soul needs time to elevate. So the separation from the mother, let's say, and the lost soul takes time. And usually the transition is 40 days. So if you don't take that time, there's going to be a glitch in that space where the soul doesn't elevate. So, and the grieving also doesn't happen. And the funny thing is that it's not us, it's us, the living, holding those souls back and not letting them elevate. So the transition happens only if we are ready to let them go and that we do our grieving and not keep them here.
I got a question for that, but before I come up with the question, it's right in the middle of the show, and I wanted to tell everybody that you are on Becoming Quantum Conscious. My name is Bart Sharp, and you are with Shamanic Psychotherapist Kymberly Kind, and we are talking about the limbo, the world between worlds, and people that are lost souls and helping them come back, but also how they affect the living. And this is in a shamanic therapeutic model that Kymberly practices. You can also find Kymberly, and that's Kymberly, Kind, Kind. You can also find her at her website, https colon slash slash and then it's time for healing altogether .life slash. I just googled Kymberly Kind and it came up it's time for healing, and that's probably the easiest way to find her website and her information with that. When we're talking about that, you were telling me that uh, it's almost like when a mother has lost a child, they are guiding that child through their peace, through their own grieving, through their intention to help that child move on. Because as we know, for the 40 days, the spirit of that child is in this reality, is staying in the home where their family is and is there. And if the mother is kind of imploded on herself with grief and sadness and is trying to forget it, trying to not recognize it, or just sucked in, they're not being that guide for the child. That's kind of what you're saying. Am I getting that right?
Yes, exactly. So everything is based on the mother. So everything comes, the creation is the mother, the person that gives life, and that is the authority in the system that we have. So as the constellation system, we have our family systems here on Earth, and this system goes the same way where the mom that gives life into this realm, so the portal of life. But also, if the mother decides to not grieve, or is unable to grieve, or is not getting the support to grieve, out of loyalty, the entire family now is not grieving and is not able to receive or give love,
Yeah.
which creates now the energy field of grief, betrayal. If for some reason someone decides to go and get married, for example, one of her sons now is older, he wants to get married. Now it's represented as a betrayal from the family. This is called a betrayal. You're not supposed to love any other souls now because we're still grieving, somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And this may happen also if, for example, it will skip a generation or two. So let's say you have not lost anybody yet in your family, but this might be an old soul, as we call them, a soul that comes from previous generations that was never grieved. So it skipped into this generation now because, like we said, energy doesn't die and is still here. So it will keep repeating the cycle until that soul elevates and transmute and is able to elevate into the other realm. But the mother is super important. It's very important in the grieving, in the sharing of love, in the heart center. So we may think that we are helping, you know, with the grief of our mother by not addressing it and not talking about it and just letting it go, where we should be thinking about going back into these practices to help these souls that actually wants our help and needs our help to transmute, because those energies are reliving also the same story back. It's like being stuck in a loop,
Yeah.
so that soul will remain in the same story as long as anyone uh let them.
And it's a lot with those who are lost. I mean, when we think of children dying early, they do not know what to expect. Nobody's taught them about death. Or maybe for me, I used to channel and uh, people who crossed over the other side. And I was asked to channel a young man who was a drug dealer, an addict. He was violent, and he basically lived to about 22 and was gone in a violent death. And he was lost because he was afraid to move on. And yet, and everybody kind of wasn't accepting of his life. And just the fear itself was keeping him there. But it's always that emotion of feeling lost with what's next that
Mm-hmm.
seems to get you stuck. And so, any advice for those that have somebody like that in their lives? And
Yes. Mm-hmm. So this happens also, as you just mentioned, sometimes, and it's actually happening more and more often. People are feeling kind of stuck in their life. They're feeling kind of unmotivated, confused, not knowing, which path or which way to go. And this is also because there's a stagnancy in the souls that are stuck. So the lost soul out of body, where maybe your family, so your lineage is carrying an excessive amount of lost souls. So when you're resolving all of these stories, it's like peeling layers and layers and layers off of you. So you're peeling all these stories off of you. So the best thing to do is to go back into your family history, trying to figure out, where you come from, what has happened, what's the repeating cycles. And if you don't have that possibility to search within your family history, you may also just notice the stories with your grandparents or your parents and understand what's happening. So usually with my clients, I also do a map of the traumas, and also a body mapping, and also a physical and emotional body mapping, which can also explain to you, without having the knowledge of your ancestors, where the stomach is stuck in your body. So let's say if people have different injuries that keeps coming, or different pain in the shoulders, and different pain that keeps coming up,
or
it's
or
talking
even
to you.
yeah, or even something like addictions or behaviors
Mhm.
we're addicted to.
Yes, addiction is a very big one also. You're right. um Anything that can be a storyline that is not yours. Mainly people today are thinking, well, I have everything I need. I have a good job, I love what I do, I have a good family, but I'm still not happy. I'm still feeling stuck and confused. And these are the stories that we're still reliving, and the lost souls are talking through you. That's how they're feeling, because it's the confusion of death, and the death and the living. So it's the confusion between the real lost souls and the souls that are in body. So there's a confusion, a paradoxal um, projection onto the souls that are in body,
Hmm.
but they feel like most feel like we are out of body, because we're feeling the emotions of that soul that is out of body, that
Mm.
was not grieved. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. It just brings up so many questions because, for example, my grandfather on my father's side was a very abusive man, and he hurt many people, particularly his children, to the nth degree. And so everybody faced embodiment in different ways from what he held. And if there was anybody that was kind of stuck in the netherworld, it could be him, because just about everybody had no compassion for him. They just was kind of glad he finally left, because he was mean spirited until the day he died. Um, so if I was to use body mapping, I could start going back and seeing what imprints I have of him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that can be possible. And basically, it's just a scan of like over the years, what have you had? What type of accident or injuries have you felt or had? And injuries in the emotional body. So that means,
Hmm.
feeling depression, anxiety, feeling, disassociation sometimes, feeling guilt. We our soul is feeling guilty because we're living and they're not. But
Yes.
we are all living because we are all souls. But the disconnection of the body is what is the difference. So it's basically trying to figure out your emotional behavior,
Hmm.
understanding and pain, and it's connecting the body, the mind, and the soul together. So when
Mm.
you do some healing work, it's very important to always bring the body, to bring the soul into the body. So body, mind, and soul is very important. Even if you have like, so for like me, when I had my leg injury, my broken ankle, it wasn't just the need for physical fixing, like we're gonna fix your leg and we're gonna do this, but the soul needed to be healed. The deep memories, the remembrance of the pain of the ancestors that had gone through it, the pain of this uncle that needed to be grieved, because I'm reliving this incident. So to understand it is to close that loop. When you understand that you have to heal the body, the mind, and the soul together to close that loop, the repeating cycle from reopening, and it could be in the same generation. So it could happen to you. I've had clients where they tell me they've had this incident where they keep breaking the same bone over and over again.
Mm.
So these cycles can happen to the same person. So
Wow.
we
And
have to acknowledge it.
and we just had Heidi come on. Good day, Bart and Kimberly. Much from Boulder, Colorado. Glad to have you here, Kimberly. Um, yeah, it's and as you say this, just to review what you said earlier, the body holds all the memory of your ancestors as well as your own emotional history. The soul is your identity, and the mind functions from both of those.
Mhm.
Am I getting that right?
Yes, totally. So we have
Okay.
to understand that our body is what holds the imprints of the ancestors and the living stories. So, and I can say the living history of the lineage. So the family of origin, the bloodline that you come from. Then a soul, then that's going into other discussion, but there is souls that are not, that are brought in, and I can't remember if we talked about that before in a conversation or if it was with someone else, but a soul can be a called in soul, for example, that needs to be put into a family because that family needs help and support to close these cycles.
Mm. A healing soul, so to speak,
Yes.
or an instigator. Sometimes we call them troublemakers.
Troublemakers, yes, it could be, it could happen, everything is possible in this reality that we create and that is created out of our stories and out of all the souls. But we create this world, we are a creation, we are part of it, we are all of these souls are imprinted into the collective as well. So
Mhm.
you know
So going back to my grandfather and such, just if I am starting to look at some of the health issues or things that seem to behaviors that I seem to have, I might be asking that question: is there a reflection of my grandfather's abusive actions onto my father that is held in this, I call it a family constellation because
Mhm.
it's a family history. It's this big picture. And maybe my body would start to show me that, kind of looking into my own body map.
Yes, your body will show you. You will um, imprint also what happens, and what we have noticed, and science has proven that also, is that even children that are adopted, for example, or are raised by, a grandparent, or raised by a sister or a brother, they will imprint in their DNA the information of that person that raises them. So your DNA will adapt and change to the information that is being shared with you. So it doesn't have to be from your bloodline. So it can also create a family story through your DNA and your genes, but it doesn't mean that you carry it, that it will be activated as well, because the soul actually chooses to activate or not activate it.
Hmm, interesting. Maybe it's sometimes it's just more than you can handle
It,
at
it,
that
it
time.
could be, yes.
Well, it's funny. It's funny how as we grow and mature and evolve and we resolve issues and we feel like this big freedom, then something else may show up that we hadn't really contemplated as a big issue. Uh, Sometimes that happens. I mean, this life is all about learning lessons.
Oh, yes. There's so many lessons to learn, and so many layers to peel, as we say. Each layer that you peel is a soul that you're freeing. This is how we um,
Yeah,
say it, we see it. And the work hasn't been done for a long time, where we were disconnected from the soul work, we were disconnected from the indigenous work, we were disconnected from our truth and ourselves, where we have been living disconnected from our body, basically, where
yeah,
we're disconnected also as a whole, as a collective, so going back to it, it's happening right now. I can feel it and I can see it, and it's absolutely beautiful. We're going back. It's There's like a remembrance of, like, oh wow, this is how we're supposed to do these things, and people are starting to see it and to feel it. I want to give you just another example, and I'm actually going to ask you a question. Do
sure.
you know? Do you know why? Um, in many cultures all around the world, and many religion as well, when there is a death in the family, we usually offer them food, or we bring them like a meal.
Well, I can cheat because you told me this answer when we were discussing before, but I'm going to cheat and say, oh, I know why, teacher. Uh, because you do not want the mother cooking and cooking her grief into the food and therefore dispersing the emotions through the food.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. So this is a remembrance. This is, we're following these healing traditions, these um, basically cultural knowledge, ancestral knowledge that we keep doing without understanding why we're doing it, but we're still remembering and we're still practicing it in a way. It's just now a way of us in the conscious collective to have that remembrance of, like, oh, this is why we're doing this. It's so
Indeed.
important to be able to connect it to the root of the things. But yes, it is said and it is understood that when a mother is grieving a loss, she is not supposed to be cooking, because the grief will go into the food, and then the family will be sick from it. So the
Wow.
energy that the food carries is very, also can affect your
Yeah.
body, it can affect your health, it can affect all of that, the vibration, the frequency that is connected to it. So it's very important that we understand these traditions, these specific way of living, the specific way of living, but be aware and open our consciousness as a collective to remember why we do these things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. So we're coming down to the last 5 minutes of the program, and just want you to think about like, is there a message for you would like to give people on how they can be proactive in their life? Or I mean, to me, after hearing this, I want to look at like some of my classic limitations. Because no matter how much you resolve shadows and aspects of yourself, there's always parts of it that still never get totally resolved because they're there for great lessons. And, it gives me just the idea to like, maybe I need to start asking those questions about how much does this go back to my grandfather and beyond that? And in what perspective do I need to start addressing? And with that, of which you also do family constellations work, which really addresses a lot of this. And that's one of your important tools in working with people, but also you do an individual practice because family constellations is a group. Uh,
Yes.
so, gosh, I know I'm a little bit scattered in all of those messages. So maybe the question would be is like, well, what are the final messages that you want to give people to promote?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but before we get into that, I want to just tell everybody that you are listening to Kymberly Kind, Kymberly, and you can find her at It's Time for Healing life, or if you just type in It's Time for Healing or Kymberly Kind, you will get her website up. I did. It's a really great website. But before you give us that message of what you would like to depart with everybody, uh, what classes, activities, projects are you sharing and are doing right now that you would like to share with everybody?
Sure. So I'm offering some family constellation workshops, and my workshop includes a shamanic sacred healing. So the way we process the integration is very important, and we offer sound healing, breath works, and also it's a very somatic experience and full integration. So I'm doing also men's circles. I've started doing men's circles years back, and the collective has been asking for it again and is asking for support in navigating, different aspect of things. I want to say that a lot of people that have never done healing before are just starting now, and it's very difficult for them to be in a co-ed group where some men do not want to share space with women and some women do not want to share space with men because they're going through a healing journey, a personal healing journey. So I am facilitating co-ed also workshops, family constellation, and we are doing a lot of individual sessions as well with my team, helping and supporting people that are going through different trauma that are not understanding, maybe if it's their own or if it's passed down from generation. And I will say that 85% of the time it is not you. You're just carrying it. So it's
And
very
you've
important.
and you've reacted to it, and you
Yes,
help people get back and backtrack to all of these family patterns,
yes,
whether it be in group work, but also on an individual session that you might be working on, something like Zoom.
yes. So we do Zoom sessions are available, online sessions are available, and you can connect on my website and book also a consultation if you want to do a consultation and understand what will be available for you or what is it that you need. I do soul alignment, so quantum soul alignment is a full cord cutting as well. We cut cords with addictions, like you mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
These patterns evolve into addictions and become
Yes.
addictions. So it's very important to understand the root cause of it to really close the chapter on it and to close the loop. Um,
Indeed.
so so that
Indeed.
way we can free those souls that are in the between and that needs to go to the light. So we can feel lighter, we can feel less confused in our truth and in our beautiful body.
Oh, that's beautiful. So we're coming to the end of the show and probably have about 2 minutes. So before you come up with like a parting 1 minute message that you want to end the show with, I'd like to tell everybody that you're with Kymberly Kind, Kymberly Kind. My name is Bart Sharp, and you're on Becoming Quantum Conscious on United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 107.7 and 105.3 FM out of New Orleans, Louisiana. So, what parting words do you have for us?
I will tell everyone that you are not alone, that there is solutions, there is support available. I will say, please look into your family ancestry. Please look into the past to be able to heal yourself now and to heal the future is really going into the past and unfolding the stories and understanding as much as you can. But there is support, and I will recommend everyone to do family constellation at least once,
Yeah,
at least one time in their life. Really get connected to the universe work, and it will really help you with so many things. It will help you with medical injuries, physical injuries, and emotional injuries. It really groups everything together. It's very
it,
important to do it.
it's yes, and it's all over the world, folks. We just had somebody on this show about a month ago doing a family constellations class. It's great stuff. So thank you so much, Kimberly, for being on the show, and wish everybody well. And we'll see you next week at Becoming Quantum Conscious.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
say goodbye to everybody.